Evelyn Turner was certain of three things that night. First, that the borrowed heels were attempting to murder her with every step. Second, that the midnight blue dress was far too beautiful to be on her body. And third, that she definitely did not belong at that gala ball where the chandeliers cost more than her entire education. But then he appeared. Tall, impeccable tuxedo, indecently attentive gaze, and a smile that suggested he knew exactly the effect he caused. When he extended his hand and asked if she danced, Evelyn should have said no, should have maintained her posture as an invisible observer, a scholarship student who was only there because Madison, her recklessly loyal best friend, had dragged her along with promises of French canapés and real champagne. But she said yes, and the world disappeared. Hours earlier, Evelyn was still trying to convince her grandmother, Ruth, that going to the ball was a bad idea. "You are going because you need to learn that sometimes life offers good things for free," said her grandmother, adjusting the dress she herself had sewn decades ago for a wealthy client who never returned to claim it. "And because if you stay home, you will spend the entire evening brooding over spreadsheets and complaining that the cat is grumpy." Winston, the cat in question, meowed indignantly from the sofa as if he understood perfectly the insult. "He is not grumpy, he just has high standards," defended Evelyn, checking for the fifth time whether Madison's borrowed heels were not visibly trying to kill her. "Just like you," retorted Ruth, with that knowing smile that always indicated she knew more than she said. "That is precisely why you need to go. Who knows if you will find someone at your level of exacting standards?" Evelyn rolled her eyes, but went, mainly because Madison was already honking outside with the persistence of someone who does not accept no as an answer. The ball was everything Evelyn imagined and feared. Opulent, intimidating, and full of people who seemed born knowing which fork to use first. The ballroom of the traditional club in Rittenhouse Square glowed like a movie set, with floral arrangements that probably cost her rent for 3 months, and guests who wore jewels like others wear watches. "Relax," whispered Madison, already on her third glass of champagne. "You look gorgeous, the dress is perfect, and that guy over there has not stopped looking at you." "What guy?" Evelyn started to ask, but Madison had already vanished toward the table of French pastries, leaving her alone near the dance floor. That was when he appeared. "Dance?" The voice was deep, amused, as if he knew the question was mere formality. Evelyn turned and almost forgot how to breathe. He was, well, unfairly handsome. But it was not just that. There was something in the dark eyes, a sharp intelligence mixed with irony, that made her feel as if she were being truly seen for the first time that night. "Depends," she responded before good sense could intervene. "Do you step on feet?" He smiled. "Only when I want to irritate someone. Then I am safe. You do not even know me." "Yet," he said, and extended his hand. Evelyn hesitated for half a second before accepting. The touch was like an electric shock, and by the way his eyes narrowed slightly, he felt it too. The music was classical, enveloping, and when he pulled her onto the floor, Evelyn realized 3 new things. He danced absurdly well, smelled of something expensive and woody that should be illegal, and was definitely breaking through all her defenses with alarming ease. "You are not from here," he said, not as a question, but as an amused observation. "That obvious? You are the only person in this ballroom who seems genuinely impressed with the chandeliers." Evelyn laughed. "They are impressive. They cost more than an apartment, I am sure. 2 apartments, actually. Imported from Venice." He spun her gently, their bodies dangerously close. "But you are right to find it absurd. You think so too. I think there are far more interesting things to look at tonight." His eyes never left hers, and Evelyn felt heat rise up her neck. "Was that a pickup line?" "It was an observation. If it were a pickup line, I would be more creative. Now I am curious." He smiled, that dangerous smile that probably caused havoc wherever it went. "Dancing with you, I completely forgot what I came here to do. Is that creative enough?" Evelyn should have pulled away. should have thanked him for the dance and returned to the safe table where Madison was probably creating some minor scandal. But instead, she heard herself saying, "Depends. What did you come here to do? Fulfill protocol. Show up, greet important people, pretend interest in conversations about financial markets and new investments." He paused. "But now I only want to know your name." "Rule number 1 of magical nights," said Evelyn, surprised by her own boldness. "No names, no promises, just this." She saw surprise in his eyes, followed by something darker, more intense. "Interesting," he murmured, his voice lower. "And what else does this rule allow?" "Dangerous honesty. My favorite kind." They danced 2 more songs, talking about everything and nothing. He had sharp wit, intelligence that matched hers, and a way of looking that made Evelyn feel as if she were the only person in the ballroom. When he suggested they step out to the garden before someone tried to pull him into conversation about stocks, she agreed without thinking twice. The garden was even more impressive than the ballroom, with soft lights among the trees and the scent of jasmine in the air. They walked in comfortable silence to a more secluded corner, away from curious eyes. "So," he said, leaning against a stone column and looking at her with that disturbing intensity. "No names, no promises. What do we do now?" Evelyn should have been sensible, should have thanked him for the magical night and returned to reality. But looking at him, at the way the filtered light through the trees cast shadows on his face, at the way he looked at her, as if she were something precious and dangerous at the same time, she did the only thing her heart commanded. She kissed him, or he kissed her. Evelyn was never sure who moved first. She only knew that suddenly she was between him and the stone column, and the kiss was everything she did not know she needed. Intense, desperate, full of promises neither could make. When they separated, both breathing with difficulty, he rested his forehead against hers. "Does that break the rules?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "I do not know," admitted Evelyn. "I have never done this before." "Magical nights or kisses in gardens?" "Both," he smiled. That smile she already knew she would remember for a long time. "Then we are even." They stayed there for indeterminate time, stealing kisses and whispering nonsense that only made sense in that moment suspended in time. When the music grew louder, indicating the ball was ending, Evelyn felt her chest tighten. "I need to go," she said, though every fiber of her being screamed to stay. "Stay?" he asked, and for the first time that night seemed vulnerable. Just a few more minutes. But Evelyn knew a few minutes would become hours, and hours would become complications she could not allow. So she did what every sensible Cinderella would do, fled before the magic turned to pumpkin. She left him there, among the garden shadows, with the taste of the kiss still on her lips and the certainty that she would never see that man again. Sometimes life likes to prove we are completely wrong. 7 days later, Evelyn stood in front of the mirror in the tiny bathroom of the apartment she shared with her grandmother, trying to convince herself she was ready for her first day of internship. She was not. "You are going to kill it," said Ruth from the doorway, holding Winston in her lap as if the cat were emotional support. "They were lucky to accept you." "Gran? It was a miracle I got in. Morrison Jewelers is an international reference in rare gems. There are gemologists with doctorates competing for internship positions there. And yet they chose you." Her grandmother smiled. "Because you are brilliant, dear, even when you try to hide behind insecurity and heels that hate your feet." Evelyn looked at the basic but comfortable shoes she would wear, very different from the killer heels from the ball. In fact, everything was different from the ball. That night had been stored away as a precious but unreal memory. In the last 7 days, she had tried to forget the mysterious man, the kiss she still felt on her lips, the sensation of having found something rare and let it slip away. It did not work, but at least she tried. The Morrison Jewelers building was intimidating. Glass, marble, and a silent elegance that screamed old money and good taste. Evelyn took 3 deep breaths before entering, her basic purse contrasting painfully with the Prada and Hermes she saw in the reception. "Evelyn Turner," The receptionist, impeccable and cold, checked a list. Human Resources, 22nd floor. In the mirrored elevator, Evelyn tried not to look as nervous as she felt. When the doors opened, she was greeted by a woman in a grey suit and professional smile. "Welcome, I am Patricia from HR. I will introduce you to the team." She guided her through corridors of minimalist and expensive decoration. "You will have intensive training over the next 2 weeks on basic gemology, quality assessment, and, of course, VIP client service." "VIP clients?" Evelyn repeated, trying to process the volume of information. "Our clients are collectors, investors, and international celebrities. Discretion and excellence are mandatory." Patricia stopped in front of a frosted glass door. "But first, Mr. Morrison likes to personally meet all new employees, even interns." Evelyn's heart raced. She had researched the company, of course, knew it was a century old, founded by an Italian immigrant who built an empire based on work and vision for rare gems, knew it was now run by his grandson, a young and brilliant CEO who was also a renowned gemologist, and by rumors absurdly demanding. But nothing prepared Evelyn for the moment when the door opened and she saw who was behind the glass and steel desk. Him, the man from the ball. The owner of the kiss she tried to forget for 7 days, without success. Jacob Morrison looked at her with those dark eyes she saw every night before sleeping, and for a second, Evelyn saw genuine surprise cross his face. But it was only a second. In the next, the mask was back, cold, professional, completely different from the man who kissed her in a garden lit by soft lights. "Mr. Morrison," said Patricia, oblivious to the emotional storm happening. "This is Evelyn Turner, our new intern." Jacob stood with fluid movement, absurdly elegant even in a business suit, extended his hand, totally formal. "Miss Turner, welcome to Morrison Jewelers." The voice was the same, but the tone completely different, cold, distant, as if he had never held her against a stone column while the world disappeared. Evelyn shook his hand, feeling the same electricity as before, but now mixed with confusion and something dangerously close to anger. "Mr. Morrison," she managed to say, keeping her voice steady, "it is an honor." His eyes studied her for a moment, and Evelyn swore she saw a flicker of something there. But then he smiled, that corporate smile that did not reach his eyes. "You come highly recommended. I expect you to meet expectations." It was a challenge. Evelyn knew challenges when she saw one. "I intend to exceed them," she responded, raising her chin. Something seemed to shimmer in his eyes, but Jacob merely nodded to Patricia. "Please proceed with the onboarding. Make sure Miss Turner has access to the necessary study materials." It was a clear dismissal. Evelyn left that office with trembling legs and a brain in turmoil. He was pretending not to know her. "Why? Are you all right?" Patricia asked as they continued to another room. "You are pale." "Mr. Morrison can be intimidating at first, but he is fair." "I'm fine," Evelyn lied, because admitting she had kissed the CEO in a garden a week ago did not seem like smart career strategy. The rest of the day passed in a fog of information about stone cutting, diamond grading, and security protocols. Evelyn tried to concentrate, but her thoughts always returned to Jacob, to the brutal contrast between the man who made her laugh at the ball and the ice-cold executive who barely looked at her. When she finally escaped to lunch, she found Madison waiting at a nearby cafe, eager for details. "So, how was the first day in the world of the rich?" "Complicated," said Evelyn, stirring the coffee she had no stomach to drink. "Remember the guy from the ball?" Madison almost spit out her own coffee. "The mysterious hottie who made you float for a week." "What about him?" "He is my boss." Silence. Then Madison started laughing, that scandalous laugh that made people turn to look. "You are joking. Please tell me you are joking." "Jacob Morrison, CEO, gemologist, and apparently an expert at pretending he does not know me." "Wait." Madison stopped laughing. "He pretended he did not know you. Completely. Hi, welcome. I expect you to meet expectations." Evelyn imitated his cold tone. "As if he had not kissed me until I forgot my own name." "What an idiot!" decreed Madison, but also interesting. Why would he pretend? I do not know, and I am not going to ask. Evelyn straightened her shoulders. I am going to do my job, prove I deserve to be there, and ignore him completely. Madison arched an eyebrow. Good luck with that. She needed luck, because over the next 2 weeks, ignoring Jacob Morrison proved impossible. He was everywhere. In team meetings, watching with those eyes that missed nothing. In the corridors, passing her with courteous but distant nods. In the gem evaluation room where Evelyn trained and felt his gaze weighing on her back. And every time their eyes met, there was that tension, that living, pulsing memory of the garden, the kiss, the connection that neither seemed able to forget, even while pretending with all their might. The worst was when Jacob called her to his office for the first time. Miss Turner, I need you to review these import reports, he said formally, pushing a folder across the desk. There are inconsistencies that need to be identified. Evelyn took the folder, her fingers brushing his by accident. Both pulled away as if they had been shocked. Of course, she said, professional. When do you need it? Tomorrow morning. That will be at least 4 hours of work. Then I suggest you start soon. He looked at her directly for the first time, and Evelyn saw something dangerous dance in those dark eyes. Unless you have other commitments? It was provocation. She knew that with absolute certainty. None that cannot wait, she responded, holding his gaze. After all, work always comes first, does it not? Always, he agreed, but the way he said the word made something contract in her stomach. Evelyn left determined to finish that report in 3 hours just to prove she could. She worked late, alone in the empty office, marking inconsistencies and cross-referencing data with efficiency that surprised even herself. When she finally stood to leave, it was almost 10 at night. The building was silent, only night security and emergency lights in the corridors. Evelyn was almost at the elevator when she heard his voice. Working late? She turned. Jacob was leaning against his own office doorframe, tie loosened, suit sleeves rolled up. He looked tired and infinitely closer to the man from the ball. Finishing what you asked for, she said, trying to ignore how her heart raced. In 1 day. Impressive. You asked for tomorrow morning. Technically, it is already tomorrow. He smiled, and it was the first real smile since she entered that building. Always so literal, always so demanding, she countered. Jacob moved away from the doorframe, walking until he was too close, invading her personal space in a way that made every nerve ending wake up. We need to talk, he said, his voice lower. About the report. About us. There is no us. Evelyn took a step back, creating safe distance. And there is a boss and an intern, and it was you who decided that was how it would be. I had no choice. We all have choices, Mr. Morrison. She practically spat the formal surname. You chose to pretend you did not know me. I choose to keep things professional. Good night. Evelyn passed him with dignity she did not know she possessed, entered the elevator, and only breathed again when the doors closed. Through the glass, she saw Jacob still standing there, looking at her with an expression she could not decipher. When she got home, Ruth was awake, making tea. Hard day. You could say that, Evelyn sighed, throwing herself on the sofa next to Winston, who meowed indignantly before settling in her lap. Want to talk? Evelyn looked at her grandmother, at the wise eyes that always saw more than they should, and felt her defenses fall. I kissed my boss at a ball a week before knowing he was my boss. Ruth did not seem surprised. She just served the tea and sat beside her granddaughter. And now? Now he pretends he does not know me, and I pretend I do not care. And do you care? Evelyn thought about the kiss, the conversation, the feeling of having found someone who truly saw her. Thought about his coldness in the office, the calculated distance, the subtle provocations that suggested he also remembered, also felt. Too much, she admitted. And this is going to destroy me. Her grandmother squeezed her hand. Or make you stronger. Only time will tell. But time, Evelyn would discover, had plans far more dramatic than anyone could imagine. The bomb exploded on a Monday morning in the form of a blonde woman, impeccable and dangerously beautiful, crossing the Morrison Jewelers reception as if she owned the place. Where is he? She asked the receptionist, who immediately paled. Miss Ashford, Mr. Morrison is in a meeting. Perfect. He can include me. Evelyn, who was passing through the lobby carrying samples of semi-precious stones, stopped and observed the scene with horrified fascination. Because even without ever having seen that woman, she knew immediately who she was. Vanessa Ashford, Jacob's ex-fiancée, socialite, influencer with millions of followers, and by the rumors Evelyn heard in the previous 2 weeks, the woman his mother completely approved of, and she was clearly on a mission. "Vanessa!" Jacob's voice came from the elevator, cold as January ice. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see you, darling." She spun, smile perfectly calculated. "It has been a while since we talked properly." "Because we have nothing to talk about." "We do." Vanessa finally noticed Evelyn, and her eyes assessed her from head to toe with surgical precision. "But perhaps this is not the best place." Jacob followed her gaze, and when he saw Evelyn, something changed in his expression. He became even more closed off, if possible. "My office," he said to Vanessa. 5 minutes. Nothing more." Vanessa smiled as if she had won some invisible battle and headed to the elevator, casting another evaluating look at Evelyn on the way. When they were alone, Jacob approached Evelyn, his voice low and tense. "Ignore anything she says." "It is none of my business," responded Evelyn, though her chest was tight. "Evelyn, Miss Turner, especially if your ex-fiancé is here." She passed him before he could respond, but felt his gaze burning into her back. The rest of the day was tense. Vanessa left Jacob's office 40 minutes later, not 5, looking far too satisfied. And in the following hours, Evelyn noticed more people looking at her, whispering, clearly speculating. "Ignore it," advised Claire, one of the senior appraisers who had been kind to Evelyn from the beginning. "Vanessa loves creating drama. It is like her hobby." "What does she want?" Claire hesitated. "What she always wanted. Jacob, the surname, the empire. In whatever order is most convenient." "How long ago did they break up?" "A year, but Catherine Morrison, his mother, never fully accepted it. For her, Vanessa is perfect. Right family, right education, useful for business." Claire lowered her voice. "And Catherine usually gets what she wants." Evelyn did not know Catherine Morrison personally yet, but she had heard enough stories to know the family matriarch was a force to be feared. Elegant, relentless, and absolutely convinced that certain people simply did not belong in her circle, people like Evelyn. Confirmation came 2 days later when Evelyn was summoned to Jacob's office and found not only him, but a middle-aged woman, impeccable in Chanel, dark hair pulled back in a perfect chignon, and eyes that assessed Evelyn with glacial precision. "Mother," said Jacob, his voice tense, "this is Evelyn Turner, our intern." "Ah, yes." Catherine Morrison smiled, but it was not warm. "The scholarship student. My son mentioned your satisfactory performance." Evelyn felt the condescension like a slap, but kept her posture straight. "Mrs. Morrison, it is a pleasure." "Certainly." Catherine turned to Jacob. "Darling, I need your signature on these documents. It is about next month's gala event." Vanessa suggested some changes to the theme. "Vanessa has nothing to do with our corporate events. She has valuable connections, Jacob. You know that." Catherine gave a significant pause. "And it would be good for the company image if you two were seen together again after that misunderstanding." "It was not a misunderstanding. It was a definitive breakup. Nothing is definitive in business, darling. You should know better." Catherine finally looked at Evelyn again, as if remembering she was there. "Miss Turner, you may leave. Family matters." It was a clear dismissal and subtle insult. Evelyn heard Jacob take a deep breath, clearly fighting something. But before he could say anything, Evelyn simply nodded and left. She did not cry, not until she reached the empty bathroom, locked herself in a stall, and let the humiliation burn in silent tears. She knew where she was stepping. Knew she was temporary, a scholarship student, absolutely out of the league of that world. But knowing did not make the rejection less painful. When she finally came out, washed her face and returned to her desk, she found an envelope waiting. Inside, A note in Jacob's strong handwriting. My office, 5 p.m. This is not a request. This is an apology. Evelyn crumpled the paper, ready to throw it away. But then she looked at the clock, saw it was 15 minutes to 5, and made a decision. She would go, but not to accept apologies. To make it clear she was no one's emotional doormat. When she knocked on his door at exactly 5, she was armed and ready. Jacob was alone, tie loosened, glass of whiskey half finished, and an exhausted expression. You can close the door. Evelyn closed it but stayed near it. You asked me to come. I'm here. About today. My mother. You do not need to, Evelyn interrupted. She made it very clear what she thinks of me, and frankly, I do not care about her opinion. You should, said Jacob, and there was something dangerous in his voice. Because she is going to try to destroy you. The silence was heavy. Evelyn felt a chill. Why? I am nothing. Just an intern she should not even notice. Jacob stood, walking to the window with his hands in his pockets. She notices everything. And she is complicated. Built this empire alongside my father, protected the Morrison name like religion. For her, certain things are sacred. Lineage, status, control. He turned. And she knows. Knows what? About us. About the ball. Evelyn's world stopped. How? Someone took a photo. It was not published, but it reached her. Jacob ran his hand through his hair, a frustrated gesture. And now she is in protection mode, which basically means making your life impossible until you give up. Evelyn should have felt fear, but what she felt was pure rage. So what do you suggest? That I resign? That I disappear quietly so as not to tarnish the precious name? No, his voice came out louder than intended. I want you to stay. I want you to fight. I want... He stopped, as if the next words were too dangerous. What do you want, Jacob? Evelyn took a step forward, her heart beating unevenly. Because for the last 2 weeks you pretended you did not know me, treated me like a disposable employee, and now you show up saying your mother wants to destroy me as if that were justification. I was trying to protect you by lying, ignoring. That is your version of protection. Jacob closed the distance between them in 2 steps, and suddenly Evelyn was trapped between him and the desk, his warmth enveloping her as it always did. You do not understand. If I acknowledged it, if I made clear what I felt that night, you would become an immediate target. Vanessa would come back with everything. My mother would use all resources to push you away. And I... His voice failed. I did not want you to suffer because of me. So you preferred I suffer thinking it meant nothing? You meant everything, he said, raw and honest, from the first second at that ball. And that is precisely why I tried to keep distance. Evelyn looked into his eyes and saw truth there, but truth did not change reality. I do not need protection, Jacob. I need honesty. She pushed his chest lightly, creating space. And if your family is that toxic, maybe you should rethink your priorities. You are right, he admitted, surprising her. About everything, and I am going to fix it, but I need you to trust me. Trust you? Evelyn laughed without humor. I barely know you. Then get to know me. Jacob held her face, a gesture gentle but intense. Give me a chance to do this right, to prove I am not just the idiot who hurt you. Evelyn should have said no. Should have created emotional distance, kept everything professional, protected her own heart. But looking at him, seeing the vulnerability he finally allowed himself to show, she found herself saying, "One chance, but if you mess it up, it is over." He smiled, that smile she saw for the first time at the ball. I will not mess it up. In the following days, Jacob proved he took the promise seriously. He did not change professional treatment at work, but there were small gestures, coffee on her desk in the morning, notes with inside jokes, looks that said more than words. And then came the announcement that changed everything. You have been selected for the international trip, said Claire, handing sealed envelopes to 4 employees. Evelyn was one of them. Jacob is launching the fairy tales collection in Paris, Geneva, and Milan. 2 weeks, all expenses paid, great learning opportunity. Evelyn opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside, tickets, detailed itinerary, and a note. Welcome to the fairy tale. Let us see if you can handle reality. JM. Madison almost had a heart attack when Evelyn told her. Paris, Geneva, Milan, with your gorgeous millionaire boss who is clearly in love with you. Madison, and before you say I am going too far, remember you need clothes. Chic European clothes. And I know places. What followed was a shopping marathon that left Evelyn's bank account trembling and the apartment full of bags. Ruth watched everything with a knowing smile. Take the blue dress, she said, pulling the ball gown from the closet. Gran, that is too elegant for work. Take it anyway. You never know when you will need a little magic. The trip began on a rainy Thursday. Evelyn arrived at the airport and found the group. Claire, 2 senior designers, and Jacob. But also Vanessa Ashford, perfectly dressed and smiling like a cat that caught the canary. Surprise, she said, kissing Jacob's cheek. Catherine thought I should come. For the social connections, you know how it is. Jacob looked at Evelyn, and she saw frustration and apology in his eyes. But he could not do anything. Not there, not in front of everyone. The flight was long and tense. Vanessa monopolized Jacob, talking about social events and important people. Evelyn pretended to sleep while feeling jealousy eating away inside. Paris was cinematographic. Eiffel Tower at sunset, charming streets, 5-star hotel with a view of the Seine. But the first dinner with VIP clients was disastrous. Vanessa, strategically seated next to Jacob, made a point of introducing him as my dearest ex-fiancé. Every time Evelyn tried to participate in professional conversation, she was cut off or ignored. Until one of the clients, a French collector, asked about a specific emerald from the collection. Vanessa tried to answer, said something completely wrong. Evelyn, without thinking, corrected with precise technical data. The client was impressed. Jacob hid a smile, and Vanessa turned red with rage. How delightful, she said afterward, voice sweet but venomous, when interns forget their place. Her place, said Jacob, cold as ice, is alongside professionals who know what they are talking about. Perhaps you should worry less about surnames and more about substance, Vanessa. The silence was awkward. Vanessa left the table visibly furious, and Evelyn knew she had just made a mortal enemy, but it was worth it to see the pride in Jacob's eyes. Late that night, when everyone was already in their rooms, Evelyn received a message from him. Hotel Terrace, 5 minutes, we need to talk. She went, of course, because even knowing it was a bad idea, even knowing she was falling in love with an impossible man, she could not resist. The terrace was empty, lit by soft lights of Paris in the background. Jacob was leaning on the railing, and when he saw her, he smiled. You were incredible today. I was inconvenient. You were true. It is different, he approached. And that is precisely why my mother sees you as a threat. You do not bow, do not pretend, do not mold yourself. You are you. And that is a problem? For them, not for me. Jacob touched her face, a gesture that was becoming familiar, yet always surprising. For me, it is exactly what I always wanted, and never knew I needed. Evelyn felt her heart race. Jacob, I know. It is complicated, impossible, completely against the rules. He leaned in, forehead touching hers. But I cannot stop thinking about you. Cannot pretend that night at the ball was just fun. It was... He stopped, searching for words. It was like waking up. And now? Now I want to give you the real fairy tale, not what my mother approves or Vanessa envies. Ours. Messy, complicated and real. Evelyn should have resisted. Should have remembered she was an intern, he was CEO, that their worlds did not mix. But under the lights of Paris, with her heart in her throat and his eyes promising impossible things, she did the only thing that seemed right. She kissed him as if there were no tomorrow, because maybe there was not. Not for them, but at least they would have that moment, that kiss, that promise under the stars. And sometimes that was all it took to believe in magic again. Geneva dawned with light snow and heavy scandal. Evelyn woke to 16 messages from Madison, all in caps lock, all linking the same news. Photo of her and Jacob on the hotel terrace in Paris. Headline suggesting secret romance and corporate Cinderella. Someone photographed them and sold it to tabloids specializing in socialites. Emergency meeting. Now. Jacob's message came at 7 in the morning, dry and worrying. When Evelyn arrived at the Swiss hotel conference room, she found not only the travel team, but also Catherine Morrison, who apparently caught the first available flight from Philadelphia, and a lawyer with a severe expression. "Miss Turner," said Catherine, voice cutting like a blade, "it seems we need to talk about professional conduct." "Mother," Jacob intervened, tense, "this is not necessary." "Of course it is. The company image is at stake. Your name is being associated with inappropriate situations." Evelyn felt rage boil. Inappropriate situations. "We were talking," repeated Catherine with disdain that cut like glass. "On a private terrace, late at night, in an extremely intimate position." "Enough!" Jacob slammed his hand on the table, startling everyone. "Evelyn did nothing wrong. If anyone owes explanations, it is me." "Exactly," agreed Catherine. "And your explanation better be good, because Vanessa is threatening lawsuits for defamation and public embarrassment. Vanessa can sue whatever she wants. I'm no longer concerned with what she thinks." The silence was tense. Everyone looked between mother and son, as if watching a bomb about to explode. "Jacob," said Catherine, each word carefully articulated, "you are letting attraction override common sense. This girl is temporary. The empire we built is not." Evelyn felt as if she had been punched. Girl, temporary, as if she were disposable. "I understand," she said, her voice surprisingly firm. "Mrs. Morrison is right. I am temporary. The internship ends in 8 weeks anyway. Perhaps it is best I return to Philadelphia now and avoid further embarrassment." "No." Jacob looked at her with intensity that made something contract in her chest. "You are not going anywhere." "Jacob." "I said no." He turned to Catherine. "And as for you, Mother, I need to make something very clear. I respect what you built. I respect the family legacy. But I will not sacrifice my personal life on the altar of social approval. Not again." Catherine paled. "You are making a colossal mistake." "Maybe, but it is my mistake to make." The matriarch looked between son and Evelyn, and for the first time seemed genuinely shaken. But then she recomposed the icy mask. "Very well, but do not expect me to clean up the mess when it all falls apart." She stood with deadly elegance. "And Miss Turner, just to be clear, you will never be accepted in this family. Never." She left like a storm, leaving heavy silence behind. Evelyn felt tears burn, but they did not fall. Not there, not in front of everyone. "Meeting adjourned," said Jacob. "Everyone, back to normal schedules. Evelyn, my sweet." "Now!" She followed him through the luxurious corridor, brain in turmoil. When the door closed behind them, Jacob turned, and she saw exhaustion on his face. "I am sorry for everything, for my mother, for Vanessa, for this whole mess." "It is not your fault." "It is. I should have anticipated, should have protected you better." "Jacob, look at me." Evelyn waited until he obeyed. "I do not need protection. I need to know if this is worth it." "If you are worth it," he recoiled as if he had been hit. "Are you doubting?" "I am being realistic. Your mother is right on one point. Our worlds do not mix. You are CEO, heir, live in a luxury penthouse, and play golf with diplomats. I share a small apartment with my grandmother and a grumpy cat. This," she gestured between them, "is beautiful, but it is fantasy." "It is not fantasy." "Then what is it?" Jacob was silent for a long moment. Then did something completely unexpected, opened his wallet, took out an old yellowed photo, and showed it to her. "My grandfather," he said, "Giuseppe Moretti, arrived in America at 18 with nothing but a suitcase of worn clothes and an absurd dream of working with precious stones. He was the son of a poor Italian miner. My mother hates when I tell this." Evelyn looked at the photo, at the young man with determined gaze. "He built the empire we have today, selling simple pieces at street fairs, saving every penny, studying gemology and borrowed books. Jacob smiled sadly. And he married my grandmother, who was the daughter of Portuguese immigrants and worked as a seamstress, exactly the type of woman society at the time considered inadequate. Evelyn's heart tightened. What happened? They were happy, against all odds, against everyone who said it would not work. And when my grandfather died, he left a letter for me, saying the only thing he regretted was taking so long to stop caring about others' opinions. Jacob put away the photo, eyes shining with contained emotion. So, yes, Evelyn, our worlds are different, but not impossible to mix, not if I have the courage to follow the example of the man I admire most in this world. Evelyn felt tears finally fall. And if your mother is right, what if I am too temporary, too inadequate, too simple? Then she does not know you, said Jacob, wiping her tears with his thumbs, because you are the most extraordinary person I have ever met, and if my family does not see that, the problem is theirs, not yours. Evelyn should have resisted, should have kept a cool head, but instead she pulled him into a desperate kiss, full of promises and mixed fears. When they separated, both breathing with difficulty, Jacob rested his forehead against hers. Stay with me, not just on this trip, but for real. I know it is early, I know it is complicated, but stay. Jacob, just think about it. That is all I ask. The following days in Geneva were a strange mix of intense work and emotional tension. The Fairy Tales collection was an absolute success, with pieces inspired by Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and Snow White, attracting collectors from across Europe. Evelyn discovered a natural talent for identifying which piece matched each client, her intuition and technical knowledge impressing even the harshest critics. Jacob watched her with barely contained pride, and the stolen moments between meetings were loaded with unspoken promises. But peace did not last long. In Milan, at the final collection launch, something happened that no one predicted. The centerpiece, a necklace inspired by Cinderella's slipper with the rarest diamonds and blue sapphires, disappeared. Chaos was immediate. Security, police, investigators, and inevitably fingers pointed at the new person on the team. I did not take anything, said Evelyn for the 5th time, voice firm despite internal panic. No one is accusing, lied the investigator. But you were the last person seen near the safe, because I was cataloguing the pieces for the exhibition. My job. Convenient. Enough. Jacob entered the room like a hurricane. Evelyn did not steal anything, and you will stop this line of questioning now. Mr. Morrison, with all due respect, I said now. The investigator backed down, but Evelyn saw suspicion still shining in his eyes, and she knew that even if they found the necklace, the stain on her reputation would remain. Late that night, alone in her hotel room, Evelyn finally allowed herself to crumble. Everything was too much. The pressure, the accusations, the look of disappointment from Catherine when she arrived in Milan to supervise the crisis, Vanessa's venomous insinuations. She did not belong in that world, never would. The knock on the door made her quickly wipe tears. Evelyn, it is me, said Jacob. She opened, and he entered bringing 2 glasses of wine and an exhausted expression. They found the necklace. It was in the wrong case, a security guard's error. He handed wine to her. You are clear of any suspicion? Evelyn should have felt relief, but all she felt was deep tiredness. They will always suspect me first, she said. They will always see the poor girl who does not belong to their circle. Then we prove them wrong. How? Jacob set his glass aside, held her hands. By staying, fighting, not letting them win. I am tired of fighting. I know. And I hate that you have to fight for something that should be simple. He pulled her into a tight hug. But I swear, Evelyn, I will make it worth it. I will make you feel safe, valued, loved, even if it takes time. Love. The word hung between them like a dangerous and beautiful promise. Do you love me? Evelyn whispered against his chest. Jacob pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. I have been falling for you since we danced at that ball. And every day that passes, I fall more. So yes, Evelyn Turner, I love you. The world stopped, and then restarted, but different, brighter. "I love you too," she admitted, and it was like freedom. When they kissed, it was different from the other times, slower, deeper, loaded with meaning that went beyond physical desire. It was promise, surrender, deliberate choice to be together against everything. The rest of the night was lost in low murmurs, reverent touches, and the scary and beautiful certainty that they had crossed a line of no return. And for the first time in weeks, Evelyn slept without fear of tomorrow. The return to Philadelphia should have been triumphant. The fairy tales collection had broken all sales records, Evelyn had proven all accusations wrong and earned respect from important international clients, and Jacob had finally publicly acknowledged their relationship in an interview for a business magazine. But Catherine Morrison was not a woman who accepted defeat gracefully. "You received an offer from Cartier Paris," said Claire, handing a sealed envelope to Evelyn 2 weeks after returning. 6-month internship with possibility of permanent position, absurd salary, apartment included, everything paid. Evelyn opened the envelope with trembling hands. It was real. It was everything she had dreamed of professionally. It was also an obvious trap. "Catherine is behind this," said Jacob when she showed him the offer, his jaw tense. "She has connections at Cartier. This is her trying to get you away from me. It is also an incredible opportunity," pondered Evelyn, though her heart already ached just thinking about accepting. "Do you want to go?" The simple question carried immense weight. Evelyn looked at him, at the man she loved, who made everything complicated and wonderful at the same time. "I do not know. Part of me wants to prove I can do it without the Morrison name opening doors. Another part does not want to be away from you for 6 months. Then I will tell you something my grandfather taught me," said Jacob, pulling her into a hug. "Never let fear stop you from flying. If this opportunity is real, if it is your dream, go. I will wait for you. What if I do not come back?" "You will," he said with conviction that warmed something inside her. "Because we are stronger than my mother's schemes." Evelyn had 3 days to decide. 3 days that proved to be the most dramatic of her life, because on the second day, Vanessa gave an explosive interview to a tabloid, claiming Evelyn used seduction to get professional advantages and that Jacob was being manipulated. The interview came with leaked photos from the ball, from the trip, of intimate moments strategically chosen to look sordid. The scandal was immediate. Social media exploded. Morrison Jewelers' stocks fell 3% in one day, and pressure on Jacob to end the relationship reached unsustainable levels. "Decline the Cartier offer, or I go to the press with information about irregularities of yours at the company," said Catherine in a recorded call Evelyn received. The voice was calm, almost polite. "I know you are innocent, dear, but that does not matter. What matters is what I can make seem true." It was pure blackmail. And Evelyn knew Catherine would follow through. When Jacob found out, he became furious in a way she had never seen. "She has crossed every line," he said, pacing the office like a caged animal. "I will expose her. I will make it public that she is sabotaging her own company out of personal revenge, and destroy your family in the process." Evelyn held his arm. "Jacob, maybe it is time to accept that some battles cannot be won. Are you giving up?" "I am being realistic. Your mother has power, resources, and absolutely no scruples, and I—" Evelyn felt tears burn. "I do not want to be the reason you lose everything you built. You are not the reason. She is. But I am the catalyst, and this needs to end." The silence was heavy. Jacob pulled her into a desperate hug. "Do not ask me to choose between you and the company. Please. I am not asking. I am making the decision for both of us." Evelyn pulled away before courage failed. "I will accept the Cartier offer. I will go to Paris, and you will stay here, fix things with your mother, stabilize the company. And us? Maybe there is no us, at least not right now." Jacob looked at her as if she had ripped out his heart. "You promised. You promised you would stay, that you would fight, and you promised not to put me in an impossible position. But here we are." Evelyn wiped tears angrily. "I love you, Jacob, too much, and that is precisely why I need to go. Because if I stay, I will destroy you." and I cannot live with that." She left before he could respond, before he could see her completely crumble. The next 2 days were torture. Evelyn began preparations for Paris while trying not to think about Jacob, about his unanswered messages, about the calls she ignored. Ruth watched everything with silent sadness. "You are making a mistake, dear," said her grandmother the night before Evelyn left. "I am protecting him. You are running, and however good your intentions, it is still running." Maybe it was, but Evelyn saw no other way out. At the airport, Madison cried as if at a funeral. "6 months is so long," she sobbed. "It will pass quickly," Evelyn lied. "And Jacob will get over it. He always does." But when she arrived at the boarding gate and saw Jacob there, leaning against the wall with red eyes and a devastated expression, Evelyn knew neither would get over it easily. "I came to say goodbye," he said, "and to give you something." He handed her a small velvet box. Inside, a delicate ring with a blue stone that shone like a star. "Madagascar sapphire," he explained, "the same as the Cinderella necklace from the collection. My grandfather always said blue sapphires represent loyalty and true love." Jacob closed her hand over the box. "I am not asking you to stay. I know you need to go, but I'm asking you to come back. When you are ready, when you have proven everything you need to prove to yourself, come back to me." Evelyn could not speak through tears. She just nodded, took the box, and ran to the gate. On the plane, she put on the ring and cried silently as Philadelphia disappeared below. Paris was everything it promised to be: beautiful, inspiring, professionally incredible. Evelyn threw herself into work with the desperation of someone trying to forget, learning ancient lapidary techniques, working with master gemologists, earning respect that had nothing to do with the Morrison name. But at night, alone in the tiny apartment Cartier provided, she looked at the sapphire ring and missed Jacob like a phantom limb. They talked sometimes, short messages, careful, painful in their formality. He told her about changes in the company, about how he was establishing boundaries with Catherine. She told him about work, about Paris, about everything except how she woke up crying many nights. 3 months passed, then 4, and then, on a rainy Friday, Evelyn received news that changed everything. Catherine Morrison had a stroke, not fatal, but serious enough to force complete withdrawal from business. Jacob called that night, voice exhausted. "How is she?" Evelyn asked. "Stable. She will recover, but it will take months. The doctor said it was accumulated stress." Heavy pause. "She asked to talk to me, really, without masks, and for the first time, the mother I knew as a child was there." "What did she say?" "That she was wrong, that she spent so much time protecting an empire that she forgot to live, and that she does not want me to make the same mistake." Evelyn's heart tightened. "Jacob, she apologized to you, Evelyn. Recorded a video, asked me to show you, said if you still love me, if you still want to try, she will not interfere anymore." Evelyn closed her eyes, tears falling silently. "And you? Do you still want to?" "I never stopped wanting," he said, voice hoarse with emotion. "Every day without you was torture. Every professional achievement was empty because you were not here to share. So yes, I still want. I want you forever, if you will have me. My internship ends in 2 months. I can wait 2 months. I can wait 2 years if necessary. Just tell me you will come back." Evelyn looked out the window at illuminated Paris, thought about everything she had achieved there, everything she had proven to herself. And then she thought about Jacob, about how laughing with him was lighter, about how even challenges seemed smaller when they were together. "I will come back," she promised. "And when I do, we will do it right this time. No secrets, no fear, no letting anyone separate us." "Is that a promise?" "It is a promise." When they hung up, Evelyn was still crying. But for the first time in months, they were tears of hope. She placed the sapphire ring on her right hand and smiled through tears, because sometimes fairy tales need dragons, tall towers and painful separations. But in the end, when 2 hearts decide to fight for the same happy ending, not even wicked witches can stop them. And Evelyn Turner was never one to give up easily. Epilogue. 2 years later, the gala event at the Rittenhouse was packed. Celebrities, international investors, press from 3 countries. The launch of the new Morrison Jewelers collection in partnership with Cartier Paris was the event of the year, but nothing mattered as much as the woman beside Jacob on stage. Evelyn Turner, now 25 years old, no longer looked like the nervous intern from the first day. She was confident, elegant in a midnight blue dress that deliberately echoed the one from the ball where it all began. And as she presented the collection she herself helped develop, she spoke with authority that came from knowledge earned through sweat and tears. "This collection," she said to the attentive audience, "celebrates transformation. Not the external magic that changes us in one night, but the internal journey that makes us who we truly are. Because the real fairy tale is not about glass slippers or prince saviors. It is about finding courage to be authentic, even when the world says you are not enough." The audience applauded. Jacob looked at her with pride that warmed to the bones. When Evelyn finished, he went up on stage and did something unplanned, grabbed the microphone and looked directly at her. "Before we continue, I need to say something." He extended his hand. Evelyn took it with a curious smile. "2 years ago, I met a woman at a ball. She was beautiful, intelligent, funny, and completely out of my league. I fell in love that first dance and spent the next 2 years trying to be worthy of her." Murmurs ran through the audience. Evelyn's eyes widened. "Jacob, what are you doing?" she whispered, but he just smiled. "Evelyn taught me that courage is not the absence of fear. It is doing the right thing even while trembling inside." He knelt and the entire audience held its breath. "So here I am, trembling, but doing the right thing." He took a small box from his pocket, opened it, revealing a breathtaking engagement ring. Central sapphire surrounded by diamonds forming a delicate star design. "Evelyn Turner, will you continue being the person who makes me want to be better? Who reminds me that success is not a bank account, but waking up next to someone who makes life worth living? Will you marry me?" Evelyn was crying and laughing at the same time. "You are asking me to marry you in the middle of a corporate event?" "I am asking in the middle of our event, of our achievement, because I want the world to know you are not my Cinderella. You are my equal, my partner, my reason to believe in fairy tales." The audience was completely silent, everyone waiting for the answer. Evelyn looked at the ring, at Jacob, kneeling with eyes shining with hope and love, and thought about everything they had been through, the fights, the separations, the impossible and painful moments. But she also thought about the laughter, the stolen kisses, the kept promises, and the absolute certainty that she did not want to live without that irritating, beautiful, and completely in love man. "Yes," she said, and the word came out like liberation. 1,000 times, yes. The audience exploded in applause as Jacob put on the ring, stood and kissed her as if they were alone in the world. And for a moment, they were. It was just them, like the first night, like it always should be. When they separated, Evelyn saw Catherine Morrison in the front row. The matriarch was more fragile since the stroke. Hair now with grey strands, she stopped hiding, but the smile was genuine. She waved to Evelyn with approval that 2 years ago would have seemed impossible. "Your mother is approving," murmured Evelyn. "She learned that true love is worth more than social approval," responded Jacob. "Just like I did." Later, at the party after the event, Evelyn was surrounded by congratulations when she saw a familiar figure approaching. Vanessa Ashford, still impeccable, still calculatedly beautiful, but the look no longer had poison. "Congratulations," she said, and seemed sincere. "You two really deserve each other." "Thank you," responded Evelyn, cautious. "Seriously, I never truly loved Jacob. I loved what he represented." Vanessa gave a tired smile. "You love who he is. It is different, it is better," and then surprisingly extended her hand. Evelyn shook it, and something that felt like peace settled between them. When Vanessa walked away, Madison appeared with champagne and a huge smile. "You are engaged. Engaged to a gorgeous millionaire. Your maid of honor needs an incredible dress. You will obviously be my maid of honor, you crazy woman. And the wedding, will it be huge, with a castle, white horse? Evelyn laughed. It will be ours. And that is all that matters. Later, when the party was ending and important guests departing, Jacob took Evelyn to the hotel terrace, where city lights shone like promises. "Remember the terrace in Paris?" he asked, pulling her against his chest. "How could I forget? It was where you said you loved me for the first time, and where everything changed." Jacob kissed the top of her head. "I do not regret anything, you know, not even the hard parts, because they all brought us here." "Me neither." Evelyn turned in his arms, looking into eyes she knew so well now. "But it would have been easier if your mother were not so dramatic." He laughed. "My family does nothing by halves. Not love, not drama, not transformation." "And the company, the partnership with Cartier?" "Going well. Even better now that you are officially Associate Creative Director." Jacob smiled. "See, you did not even need the Morrison name to get there, but it helped having you supporting me. You did the work. I just watched in awe." Evelyn kissed him slowly, savoring the moment. When they separated, she rested her head on his shoulder and looked at the city she loved so much. "So," she said, "how does our fairy tale end?" "It does not end," Jacob responded. "It just truly begins, because the best thing about real stories is that they do not stop at happily ever after. They continue, messy and imperfect and absolutely beautiful. I accept that version. Good, because I love you too much to give you any other." There, under the stars of Philadelphia, with the engagement ring shining on her finger and her heart finally at peace, Evelyn understood that Ruth had been right from the beginning. Sometimes life offers good things, and sometimes, if we have enough courage, we can hold on to those good things and turn them into forever. Not the forever of fairy tales, full of impossible perfection, but real forever, made of lazy mornings, discussions about decoration, shared projects, and the absolute certainty that they chose to be together. And that, Evelyn decided, was the best magic of all. Did you enjoy this story? If you were moved, laughed, rooted for the couple, or simply had a pleasant time reading, leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you do not miss the next stories, because that way you are helping other people, just like you, receive more beautiful and moving content like this. Your participation makes all the difference. A huge kiss, and until the next story.